It's podcast time. You asked, I answered. Welcome to my first attempt at a podcast. For my first episode, I sat down with the star of RACER, Sebastian Joby, to talk all things racing, how he knows Fernando Alonso, and some juicy behind-the-scenes chat of what really happened this season. Hopefully this becomes a regular theme for the channel, as I really enjoyed it and we discussed some pretty interesting topics. So sit back, relax and listen to my in-depth chat with Seb as we settle down into an executive box overlooking the glorious hallowed turf of Wembley Stadium. Enjoy. Welcome to my first ever podcast on this channel. Today I have one of the greatest racing drivers in the world at the moment. He's a 2018 JMR Scholarship winner, G2 Esports Sim Racing driver. Is that right?
Yep.
And BM Racing's number 13. It is Sebastian Joby, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Wembley. What do you make of that view? I know this is audio only, but for those of you listening, we have Wembley Stadium right out there.
Yeah, it's quite a view. I've never been here, so get
Never
to watch.
been to Wembley?
Yeah, get to have a look at it while doing a podcast. It's not bad.
Not just any podcast, the first ever podcast.
Yeah, the inaugural podcast.
First of all, I have a cold. You might be able to hear that my voice is kind of raspy, so apologies for that. The purpose of this podcast, I just wanted to take the listeners, I was going to say viewers, but we're not filming, the listeners through your journey from sofa to Silverstone.
Ooh,
I spent a long
like
time
that.
thinking that.
alliteration.
Can you just take us back? What are your first memories of motorsport, and how did you all get involved with it? I think that would be quite an interesting topic to start with.
I'd say I first got into motorsport when I was maybe, I don't know, 5. My dad watched it. Watched F1. I watched it with him, and then watched that for a few years. I was quite a big Hamilton fan, I think, Button fan. Just
You're a fanboy.
not wouldn't go that far.
Have you got pictures of Lewis Hamilton on your wall?
I'm afraid not. No. No, and then when I was 12, I went go-karting with a friend. We had some fun. One of the workers there suggested I join this racing academy they had there, and I did that for a few years. But it was only indoor karting. It wasn't going anywhere because we couldn't afford to go to the next level. So I started doing sim racing on iRacing and did that. Well, I've been doing that for 5 years now. So I started as soon as I was 13 because that's the age limit. You have to be 13. So and as soon as I was 13, I've just been doing it non-stop since. And then JMR Scholarship came around and on project cars, and I switched over quickly for that. Just practiced a lot and managed to win it.
And beat me.
Yeah, the best bit.
How did you see the progression from go-karting to sim racing? It's not a normal progression.
No.
If you forgive me for saying.
Yeah.
You don't normally see a lot of kids jumping in a go-kart and then hopping on iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, looking back 5 years ago, I was very inexperienced. If I was driving with all the knowledge I had and skills I had now, it'd be a completely different game, because when I first started iRacing, I was like pretty useless. I was crashing a lot. I was not very consistent. I was like 2 seconds off pace.
So you're like I am at the moment.
5 years. But no, so it was just, it didn't feel weird, because to me it was just another game. Like you just hop on F1 2018 or something, but I now I'd call it a proper sim, and it's like it teaches you skills that can transfer into the real world. And it basically, it was quite an easy switch between go-karting and sim racing, like, because of how accurate it is. But at that time I still had loads to learn, so it wasn't like, it's not too like, oh, I can pick out these fine details that were different or something, because I just wasn't that experienced back then.
What's your local track? Is it not Buckmore, is it?
No, well, probably. in terms of outdoor tracks.
Yeah.
But what we did was we did indoor karting at Brighton.
It's quite a way for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was about an hour. We drove. We had to wake up quite early each Sunday. Well, once a month on Sundays. But the local track is Crawley, and that's just indoor as well.
I'm gonna say I prefer outdoor go-karting.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
I mean,
it's much better.
My local track, my local outdoor track's still like an hour away from me.
Yeah, there's not as many.
There's a lot of indoor tracks, especially around in London. There's quite a few indoors.
Yeah. I know there's a team sport one, maybe one or two.
They're just really slow.
Yeah, but they're quite slippery because of the surface. It's like
you just drift around all the corners.
Yeah, exactly. It teaches you a bit of car control. Like if you're like I was a 12-year-old and never really gone into it, it teaches you the basics of car control and all that. So
you've gone from go-karting and now you're into sim racing. We'll talk about G2.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Alonso and stuff. How did that come about? It's just a bit weird, isn't it? How did it go from doing the scholarship to being with Alonso and just having his number and being in the DMs with Alonso?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was in a few racing teams before that, but one of them was probably like a top 5 team in the world, but
which was
Core Sim Racing. And I mean, the one before that was probably a top 5 one as well, Apex Racing UK, which is now just Apex Racing.
And they do F1, don't they?
Yeah, they do they do F1 mostly, whereas Core was more GT based. But me and a couple others in the team tried to start doing F1 with them again, so they were strong on both sides. But then a few of us left Core and joined G2 Sim Racing, which is now FA. Well, no, was FA Racing G2 at the time.
FA standing for
Fernando Alonso,
2-time world champion, arguably one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because I'm a bit of a fanboy.
I'd say that's pretty reasonable opinion.
How ridiculous was that?
It was quite cool. Got to fly out to Barcelona on the day that I actually won the scholarship. Just it happened to line up perfectly. But we flew out to Barcelona to do the announcement of us joining the team, and we got to stand with Alonso, speak with him a bit. And yeah, it was just all like we'd been ready to join for like maybe a month. There was a lot of waiting from after we left Core to joining FA Racing G2. But it just so happened that the last day of the scholarship was the day we were getting announced. So for me, it was like an amazing day. I won the scholarship. When I got home, I got a phone call about it. And then that was just after we'd flown home from Barcelona to have this big announcement.
Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No, not really.
Especially flying out to Barcelona and getting back.
Yeah, exactly. Just a quick
one-day
normal
day in
trip.
the life of Sebastian Joby.
But yeah, it was quite surreal, to be fair.
And you're doing quite a lot with G2 now. You're doing a lot of competitions.
Yeah, basically whatever I can. There was like a month or so, like the last month or so I haven't really driven, but then the last week or so I've been doing another competition on iRacing that's hosted by Porsche, and the top 15 qualifiers of that go to Leipzig in Germany in about a week and a half. And that will be at the Porsche factory in Leipzig. We'll compete for a prize pool of €30,000, and we get to drive some Porsche cars.
That's a bit of money.
Yeah, it is.
You better make sure you win that one.
The most someone can get is 7,500, but it's still a decent amount.
Only 7,500.
Yeah, exactly. Only just a smaller bit.
Yeah.
And we get to drive some Porsches as part of the experience, just for a bit of media, I guess. But yeah, I qualify for that as fastest overall, so I'm hoping I can carry that into the event and win it.
You beat some big names. I'm just saying it. I looked at the leaderboard on the train down here today. You've got a lot of. There's like Enzo Benito.
Yeah.
F1 Esports.
Yeah. He also won the Race of Champions last year. Competed in the Race of Champions.
Did Rasmussen do it?
He did F1 Esports and finished third overall. He's one of my teammates.
He did the Porsche competition though.
Yeah.
You beat him.
Yeah, he was 6th. Yeah, 6th.
There's some big names in there.
Yeah, it was I'd say it was the most competitive competition I've ever seen in sim racing. Like the names in it were ridiculous. I couldn't believe, and like originally I said the cutoff for like the top 15 would be a 23.2 or a 23.3, and then by the final day, the fastest time I did was a 22.7, and then the 15th place time was a 22.94 something. So it was ridiculously close. Every day, everyone kept improving. It was ridiculous. The names that, like the guy that did the 2017 iRacing World Championship, he won all 12 races. Just destroyed everyone, and it's the most competitive competition in the world. And he finished 17th or 18th. He didn't qualify. Or no, 19th I think. But yeah, it just shows how competitive it is.
Graham Carroll.
He didn't do too well in this one, but he's doing the next one.
That's just what I won't say. I mean, we'll talk about his influence in a little bit because I've still got the scholarship to talk about.
Yeah.
I've got quite a few things on my list.
I look
spent a long
forward
time
to
on
it.
this list. Most of which came from my mum. Shout out to my mum. She had quite a few topics to talk about.
Biggest fan.
Yeah, I mean, she watched the last episode of RACER last night.
It was very good.
As did most of the UK.
Yeah. Thousands. Hundreds of thousands.
I mean, we're raking up to, 200 million views now? So
Yeah.
If only.
Small time.
Graham Carroll is someone who has gone from actually being a proper driver. He won the World Haze.
Yeah. Come
to sim racing. How does that compare? You've done the opposite.
Yeah.
How does that compare? Because obviously you know Graham, you're good friends with him.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Graham since 2014. I think we were teammates in Apex Racing. But yeah, it's very cool because when he would come to race meetings, he would be able to give a completely different view to everyone else because he knew exactly what I was. Because he's competed in the highest level of like Formula Ford and the highest level of sim racing. So he knows exactly what is needed to teach me and give me confidence and how to improve. So it was very, very useful to have him there. And like I say, it just gives a completely different viewpoint to everyone else. So yeah, it's very helpful having him there. And especially when you're so friendly with a guy as well. Like we can just like talk about this stuff for ages, and you know it goes great.
Let me talk about the scholarship. I feel like that's quite a big part of your life, or has been.
Has been, yeah.
You finished the season now.
Mhm.
I've got a few questions. I've got a Q&A section. I've actually had quite a few questions. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh, okay.
I've had five really good questions and a few questionable ones.
Okay.
But I just want to talk about the scholarship. When did you first hear about it? What is it? How does it work? How do you win it?
Okay.
And why did you beat me? I really wanted that.
Hard work. So I heard about it in late 2017, I guess. And it was basically just a hot lap competition on project cars. Whoever did the best lap won a year of racing in Formula Ford, which is worth some like £40,000 or
A lot of money.
yeah, it's a big prize basically. It's the biggest competition I've ever won.
For those audio listeners, I was just giving him a fist there in my hand.
That'll be you this year.
Oh, hope so.
And basically it was the guy that ran it would take rigs around the UK, and he'd go to kart tracks, or it was kart tracks. There were other things as well.
Gyms.
Yeah, it was just loads of places, and he would just set up a rig, and it was quite good because you had to adapt to the equipment they were using. You couldn't just do it at home when you've got unlimited laps. You have to pay for sessions, and so you can't do unlimited laps. And then the fastest lap wins. But you know, you'd go to like I think I did my best lap at Buckmore Park, but that was like the third place I went to. I went to Red Lodge.
That's my local outdoor track. That's a long way for you. That's a long way for me.
Yeah, it was.
And you're coming from a lot further south than that.
Yeah, exactly. I was me and a teammate were gonna do it together, but so we were gonna go to the same place to do it, but he couldn't make it, so he gave me his session. So I had 3 sessions that day.
Who was that?
Isaac Price.
Shout out to Isaac Price.
He's no longer part of G2 though.
All right, well,
traitor.
Don't mention him.
Joined Williams. But yeah, just hit the microphone.
Has he gone to Williams?
Yeah, Williams Esports.
No, I've seen his Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll say no more. Scholarship.
The scholarship. Yeah, and basically it was over 1,200 people or something, and I managed to get the fastest lap and won it. And yeah, it was quite cool.
Can we just say, I could literally just stop this podcast here and just promote RACER and say if you want to find out how he got
great.
So we'll just end it here. That's it. We're all done. Bye. Yeah, and the first time I met you actually was Silverstone, March, which was one of your first test days.
Yeah.
I think you went to Knockhill, was it in Scotland?
Yeah, we went to Knockhill, but it was snowed out. So we got flights for...
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we got flights to Edinburgh. Showed up to track. Oh, it's covered in snow. And then waited over 12 hours in the airport because the flight was delayed. Got home at like... You can stop laughing. This will be you next year. Got home at like 3 a.m. So that was good first experience. And then had a test day at Silverstone, like, I don't know how long later, like 2 weeks maybe. And that was first proper time in the car. And yeah, then had the whole season, because we only got the one test day, and then we had another test day at Brands Hatch after the season had started. But yeah, that was it. I'm kind of glad the Knockhill test day didn't go ahead, because
it's a tough circuit.
Yeah, it would have been... I'm pretty sure we would have racked up a lot of money for damage that day, because when we went to Knockhill for round 2, it was the highest damage amount for the whole season.
Link in bio.
But yeah, it was a very tricky track. I think if I went back to it now, it'd obviously be way easier because I'm so much more confident in the car. But yeah, it was a very tricky track.
How well do you reckon the season went as a whole?
Well, if you ask my parents, they'd say it went amazingly, but I'm very harsh on myself, and I think it could have been a lot better, especially near the end, where some bad luck occurred when like fighting for very strong results. Donington, yeah.
That's the big one.
Yeah, I was fighting for 5th place, and a crash happened in front of me, and then Walter Hayes had the pace that I had, the best pace I've had all season. I was like 2 tenths. Well, I qualified 100th behind the guy that finished second in the final or something like that. But due to mechanical problems and someone hitting me off in the heat, didn't go so well. But got some nice GoPro footage out of it.
Yeah, it's a shame that the GoPro wasn't working at Donington.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly say, Ollie Salt, I know you're listening to this. I know he slid into the DMs with you before. One of my good friends.
He did yesterday.
Spill the beans. What did he say?
He just put a crying face. That was it.
Why?
Because it was the last episode.
Oh, see, I can always count on him for a bit of engagement.
Yeah, there you go.
I know he's listening because he will listen to this. He said, I'm pretty sure it was him. It might not have been. I'm pretty sure it was him. He said he moaned at me because I didn't have any GoPro of your crash or the incident at Donington.
Yeah.
What happened with the GoPro at Donington, Seb? Why didn't you turn it on?
Well, we didn't even have it for the testing and qualifying, and then it arrived just in time for race 1.
Your mum got it couriered up.
Yeah.
From your house.
Yeah.
That's quite a long way.
Yeah. I didn't want to miss anything good. But
that went well.
Yeah, it arrived for race 1, and then when the button has been pressed, it didn't turn on. So
Classic.
yeah, but it worked for 2 and 3 because I made extra sure it was on.
Yeah.
Because it really pissed me off after Donington because like it was so obviously nothing I could do. It's completely the guy in front's fault. He just caused a crash and I had nowhere to go, and it ruined like what would have been potentially my best result of the season. So when you first jump in a car, for me the first, because we're not like a really wealthy family or something, the first thing for me was don't damage the car. And like as soon as I have a crash, I'm like, oh god, the damage costs. Like,
especially when it's not your fault as well. Like
exactly, it's even harder then because it's like
you've had a few crashes this year.
yeah, far too many. But like it's expected for a first year. I think.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I hadn't driven a car for like over 6 months when I first hopped in the Formula Ford because I passed my driving test and then never drove again because we couldn't afford the insurance on my car, so we sold my car.
What car was it?
Ford Fiesta LX from 1994.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That is what I would class as a banger.
Yes, exactly.
Petrol.
Yeah.
Did you ever drive it?
No, my dad did. The first thing we did with it was take it to a garage and get it fixed because it had like a sticky brake pad. The indicator wasn't working. The steering was off-centered.
What was working with it? Did it start?
It
have
did.
4 wheels?
It somehow did. But yeah, it was all fine after that. It's just the insurance, far too much. So yeah, that was that. And then we used money that could have been used for insurance on the car to put that towards Water Haze,
It's
along
an
with
expensive competition.
yeah, it was like 5,000 something for the whole weekend.
Especially when you get wiped out in the first heat.
That doesn't help. Luckily, the damage wasn't too much. But yeah, it's not good.
Your parents.
Cool.
I'm sure this is a topic you didn't want to talk about, but probably not listening. But
No, I'll make sure I do.
definitely.
They watch
listening.
all of the RACER episodes. So.
I know. I just on that point, just want to say, Martin, thank you very much for your lovely message I received, or messages I received yesterday, about the documentary RACER, and
We thought it was very good.
he sent a long message saying how what he thought about it. That's very kind words. I'm tearing up. I need a box of Kleenex. They've been there from the start. I remember the first test day we had, or you had, I'm going to say we. When the first test day was at Silverstone in March. This is after it was snowed out at Knockhill, so you couldn't go.
Yeah.
First time I've met you, James introduced me to you. James, who is the sort of godfather of the scholarship.
Yeah. Had no idea who you were.
You had I had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
Was I salty? A lot of people have asked me this. Was I salty that I lost the scholarship?
I don't think so.
At the
I don't
start,
remember. I don't remember you being salty, but maybe you were.
the immediate days after, I was livid.
Yeah.
I was.
I'm
just
sure a few people were.
inconsolable.
I was absolutely bricking it on the last day because I was like, oh, I could have gone faster if I didn't do this, if I didn't do that. And then on the last day, I was just bricking it, thinking someone was going to beat my lap.
Bricking it in Barcelona, might I add.
Yeah.
Just chilling with Fernando.
Yeah.
There's
Hard
worse
to
places
focus.
to be bricking it.
But
isn't
yeah,
it?
that took my mind off it a bit, to be fair.
With me as well.
Yeah.
There was, I'm not sure whether I should name him. There was one guy who sat at the top of the leaderboard for a long, but basically 90% of this competition.
Yeah.
Then Seb turns up
Yeah.
and just kind of takes it away from him.
Just casually.
That guy still is doing the competition again this year,
Yeah.
and I don't know whether I should say this. You told me that he won't win.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Why?
I can, in my opinion, you can look at someone's driving and determine if they're like a really good driver or just a good driver or a crap driver or something.
That doesn't bode well for me because you've seen how I drive and it's not very good at all.
Nah, you're your harshest critic though. But
I have been absolutely shit. Can I just add? Terrible.
Takes practice. I've been doing it for 5 years.
That's probably
You've been
why.
doing it for less than a year.
Yeah, I never ever did sim racing before.
Exactly.
And would you class Project Cars?
No,
as a
not even
sim?
close. No, it's an arcade. It's awful, really awful game.
But I hope the producers of Project. Who makes Project Cars?
No idea.
No, whoever. If you're listening, sorry.
Yeah, can you sponsor me?
Yeah, if you got 50 grand, you know where to send it.
But yeah, I don't know. I think you can look at someone driving and know if they're like one of the best in the world or if they're just quite good. And I just didn't think that, harsh as it is. But
This conversation, can I just add? This conversation started out talking about your dad,
yeah,
and now we're on to
my dad's a great driver.
your parents. They've been there from the start. How do you reckon they've seen it? Because from their eyes, you're their son, and you've gone from your sofa to Silverstone. What's going through their head? Is your mum absolutely bricking it like my mum would be? If I got in the car, my mum would be bricking it. Is she the same, or is she completely chill?
I think she's quite, yeah. I think she has faith in me to do well, but yeah, I think she was bricking it a lot of the time. And then my dad was, I think he was just like, he wanted me to do as best I can and enjoy it as much as I can, but at the same time, the financial thing was a bit of a problem, and he helped out a lot in that sense, and it was a big problem for us. But I think also it made my parents realize what sim racing can be. Like before I joined FA Racing G2, I wasn't getting paid to drive. I wasn't driving in person, and then within a month, I was getting paid to drive on iRacing or whatever sim, and I was also now a real life driver, all because of sim racing. And I think now, since that, my dad's like, "Are you practicing for this competition? Are you practicing for that?" They're like sending me links to competitions that I can do, and because they know it's a way I can win money and maybe continue real racing. Like this Porsche competition, my dad's been nagging me to keep practicing, and it's great because that's what I like, you know, a motivated parent to.
Definitely worked.
Yeah, exactly.
First.
I mean, I think I probably would have been really motivated even still, but it's still nice to have that support from your parents, which they've always been very supportive of it. It's not like they've said, no, you need to stop doing this so much. But yeah, it's now they're even more supportive.
I think that'll be the same with most parents. I mean, I can only go on my parents. When I told my parents about the scholarship before, like, anyone had won or anything, and when I first found out about it, I was like, "Oh, look at this! This is crazy."
Yeah.
And Mum was like, "Right, you need to get on the PlayStation."
Yeah.
I'm like, "That is the first time you have ever told me to get on the PlayStation."
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think that generation really understands. Hopefully your story helps, but a lot of people think like sim racers and gamers are just people that have, you know, sat on their backsides and
Yeah, exactly.
like if I had to describe a gamer, it would be big guy.
Yeah, got some Doritos on the side, some
Yeah.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you know, it's not. It's far from
yeah.
the truth.
yeah. And also, sim racing is not like really any other esports because it's so, like, you learn skills on the simulator, you can use them in a real car. You can't learn skills in FIFA and then use that in real football. Or you can't be really good at Call of Duty and then go and fight a war or be a soldier. It's just not the same. Whereas with sim racing, you really can. So I think and it's also kind of physical. I did the other day. We were preparing for this Porsche thing because we knew it was coming up, but we didn't know tracks, and we did like a 2-hour sweat session of Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Great track.
In like literally the hardest car on probably the hardest car on iRacing, the hardest track on iRacing. And afterwards, like one of my teammates was saying he can't feel his arms because we use quite strong wheels. He's got an even stronger wheel than me, and my arms were aching, and it's so mentally draining as well. And you get frustrated. And it's a workout really, not like a proper workout, but it does, like, it can keep you fit if you do it. Like, it probably can, as long as you're doing other stuff alongside. It's like it's very stressful and straining, mentally and physically.
Is there anything else you want to add on the scholarship? Because it's been quite a big part of your life, I'd say, for the past year.
No, not really. I mean, just it was quite cool.
There's a lot of questions.
I'd like to continue doing it. Well, I wasn't allowed to compete this year. Not happy about that.
Controversial.
Would have loved to do it again because I want to do it next year.
Are you actually?
Of course. If it's on next year, I'll
So
do
I
it.
have to win it this year because I'm not going to beat you.
You never know.
That's just the facts.
But there's also another scholarship to race Genettas that I just saw. Well, you've seen as well. Like within the last month, it's been announced. But there's like the website's not running yet. They've not announced any details.
It's weird. I don't know why you would.
Yeah.
I was talking to.
I guess they just want to build hype or something. But
yeah, I think I sent it to you, and I was like, "What's the point of in launching something so big and your website's not even working?"
Yeah, exactly.
And like the website, where it's like about the competition, it's still got like
some food stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like food and like the default font, and I'm just it was ridiculous.
It was very odd.
Do you reckon you'll do that?
Yeah, if I can. Would like to win that.
It's not going to be on iRacing though, so I'll be on Project Cars too. It'll be your worst nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, I managed to adapt to Project Cars on a for the scholarship, JMR scholarship.
It's quite easy to pick up, I thought.
Yeah, it was, but it was like with that, it was quite easy to drive, but it was a small details that were really hard to find, and it was like, yeah, it was just the small details that were really hard to find, and that similar to iRacing really, but the car drove completely unrealistic. Like it drove nothing like the actual Formula Ford. So, but yeah, I'd like to think I can adapt to most games, but we'll see.
That's probably one of the first things I ever asked you, actually. I was like, I remember asking you, how, is it anything like the sim? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
It's like
it's literally the furthest thing from it. It's ridiculous.
The one thing I picked up this year, not that I'm an expert, because I'm not in any way. One thing I picked up was that a lot of people have been saying that it's one of the only cars where you might even gain some speed by going through sideways.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not normal.
No, it's like, it's a very weird car in that sense. When you get in the car, you have to be absolutely going for it. On the sim, you're like, the focus is on not having any slides, not having any lockups, just being really precise and smooth. In this, it's like, just go for it, like absolutely go for it. And if you like get a bit sideways, don't worry, you can save it because the grip will come back. In the sim, it will just, you'll be trying to save it, and then the grip regains and it just snaps the other way and you can't save it.
Isn't that what happened to Brands Hatch?
Well, yes,
I
but
didn't
that was here. More, I think, due to me missing a downshift, I think, but it was a while ago. But yeah, but still, like the amount of times I ended up drifting the Formula Ford, and it was a normal thing for that car. You could never do that in Project Cars or even iRace, any game really, because it's just not like, I don't know what it is.
Quick. In iRacing or any sim, if you're going sideways, you're losing time.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one thing that Rory...
Tires overheat.
Yeah, that's one thing that Rory said to me, your teammate Rory Smith. He said that I interviewed him at Brands Hatch, and he said, Seb needs to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
Then he had a crash.
Yeah. But I learned from that, and that's the thing. You just gotta... The thing is, I think any other car, pretty much, that this scholarship could be run on, I wouldn't crash anywhere near as much. But because it's so alien to you when you're a sim racer, you never want to drift. And then in this, it's not even drifting, it's just having moments. Or like a little slide. It's not like a proper drift. A drift is actually slower in a Formula
Tire
Ford.
smoke.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that or something. But it's like just getting sideways, like just having a little moment can gain you time sometimes because of how the car is. But in sim racing, it's completely different. So it's just so alien to you. You've never done this before, and then have to do that. Yeah.
So if it was in your Ford Fiesta, was it 1994?
Yeah.
If it was in that, you wouldn't have crashed many times.
I don't know. I probably want to crash that, to be honest. But no, it was a bit
like,
of a...
what, 200 quid scrap for that?
I think we bought it for 300.
You might make your money back on that.
Yeah,
Can I buy it
well,
off
we've
you?
sold it. We've sold it.
Oh.
We sold it for.
Who would buy
I don't
that?
know how much we sold it for because my dad sold it because he bought it and sold it.
That's a masterstroke from Martin there.
Yeah, he's
To
done
sell
it
that.
up. Yeah.
What has he told the owner?
Well, he bought it in the first place.
Well, it's clearly not working. Wherever that.
I mean,
if
no,
you're
what-
listening and you've bought this car,
Yeah.
if you're listening,
Watch
please
out.
get in touch. Please do get in touch. I'll have you guest on the podcast. If this person gets in touch, we're doing a
Getting
three-way
sued.
podcast.
But no, we got it, then we took it to the garage, fixed it, and sold it, basically.
It's a bit
So
like that American TV show, Pimp My Ride.
I've not seen it.
Pimp My Ride.
No,
You've never seen Pimp My Ride?
no.
You know where they get like a crap car and they put like,
I mean, I've seen shows similar.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never watched Pimp My Ride before, but you know the concept
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
a shit car,
I mean, it's basically like Top Gear.
glorified Top Gear.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about someone's Twitter.
Oh.
No, no, I can't.
Oh.
I can't talk about it because he's like. it's not
Took me
even
a
like-
second.
He's like,
Yo.
yeah, he'll definitely listen to this.
What, you giving it away now?
Well, I just narrowed it down to. I can't say any more. No, we can't talk about that. Formula One.
Oh.
Sam, who's helping out and working his audio magic, is a big F1 fan. We were just talking about F1 before you were about half an hour late getting here. Just saying.
Blame O2.
Blame O2. Yeah, rubbish. Yeah, the tubes are working fine. So
Yeah, I was here on the dot.
just at the wrong
3
place.
o'clock. No, I was at the right place.
You were at
where
the
you
coach driver's entrance.
Yeah, that's where you told me.
I
to go.
told you to go to Club Wembley.
No, you didn't. I had my texts up and I was
Absolute
reading the
shambles.
text from you.
I'm leaking the screenshots on Twitter if this goes further.
Well, I have the pictures myself, so
F1. What are your thoughts on F1 today in 2018?
bit boring really.
Brutal.
Yeah, pretty much though. Like it, I often don't watch it nowadays. Like I'm looking forward to 2019 because there's meant to be some changes that will lead to less aero dependence, so people can follow each other closer, and maybe more overtaking.
Simplified front wings and. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But they've also made DRS stronger, and I don't like that because I don't like DRS.
I love DRS.
I don't. It
you
takes
know-
all the skill from overtaking. It's like it's just too strong. Like it looks so ridiculous when you see a car just blast past like 30 kilometers an hour faster than the other car.
I think it's track dependent though.
Yeah.
You can't say every track is like that.
No. But
I think I do agree with you in some sense. Like Russia, tracks we were talking about earlier. Russia.
yeah.
I think it's Vietnam. If you've seen the layout for Vietnam as well,
Oh god.
it's just like a
It's gonna be
runway.
something. They don't even need DRS there because of how long the straight is.
It's a runway and a roundabout at the end.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But we'll see. But I just don't like the concept of DRS. I like, slipstream is strong enough. Look at Formula Ford, how good the racing in that is. Obviously, they don't have wings, so
No
there's
dirty
no.
air.
Yeah, no dirty air, but it's still like.
It's definitely it's the most competitive series I've ever seen ever. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I'd say the same. Like, I saw an article, like, it was like the top 10 American drivers Haas should be looking out for, and Carter Williams, one of the Formula Ford guys, was on there. But for that bit about Formula Ford, it said it was like the most competitive single-seater championship within Europe outside of like F3 or F4.
I'm pretty sure that's what the scholarship was advertised as well.
Yeah, or just most competitive championship outside of F3 or 4. It's just so competitive, and especially this year with all like these people returning that had previously raced it, and were coming back for a year. So chucked in at the deep end a bit.
Have you ever watched NASCAR or IndyCar?
Yeah, a bit. I've also raced it on iRacing.
I thought you were gonna just pull out that you've raced in IndyCar.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
still
Wouldn't
haven't
that be
told
nice?
anybody.
Yeah.
Try and get some
World
sponsorship for that.
championship. World
Jesus.
champion there.
I've lost my train of thought now. Just can't get a picture of you in an IndyCar out of my head. Actually,
It's a white helmet.
Nando's doing IndyCar.
Yeah.
Well, the Indy 500. How do you think Nando, your hero?
Is he? Oh,
Well,
that's news to me.
one of your heroes.
Yeah,
He's got to be
we'll
one of
go
your
with
heroes.
that. Yeah, I think he's a very good driver, yeah.
If you're listening, Fernando, please do get in touch. What do you think Alonso will do in IndyCar next year. This is not written down. I'm just sort of going off on one.
I think he'll do very well on the road courses, and then the overs, he'll probably just be quite consistent, I guess. I don't think he'll be winning every race or anything like that. And like Montoya didn't. I don't know if Montoya's won it. I don't follow it closely enough, but I know Montoya's quite good. But I don't think he won't like be winning every race or something. He'll be doing all right though. He won't be near the back or anything. Like he did really well in the Indy 500, so yeah.
Do you reckon he'll win the Triple Crown? That's obviously what
At
he wants
some
to do.
point, I think so. I just don't know when. But yeah, I think within the next like.
He'll be the GOAT.
How old is he now? Has he got another 5 years
Hold that thought.
racing?
He's not that old.
No, I don't think so. I think he'll do another 5 years.
I reckon he's like 36.
I
He's
was gonna s-
37.
37. Oh, okay. He was older than I thought actually. But I could see him doing it for another 5 years. I think he'll get it at some point.
He'll be the greatest of all time if he wins that.
No,
Just saying it.
Schumacher.
Don't really care what you think. I think Alonso's the greatest of all time.
Fair enough.
Do you think? But Schumacher's only proved himself in Formula One.
No.
You got to win Le Mans. Well, I think that it's weird because I think there's a lot of people that think
I don't
the
think
Triple Crown is Monaco, Indy 500, Le Mans. A lot of people think it's
yeah.
being a world champion in F1, which is not.
No, it's just winning Monaco.
Monaco,
Um,
Indy, Le Mans,
But
and he's already done 2 of those. He's already won Le Mans.
yeah, but his Le Mans win wasn't exactly impressive.
It's controversial.
Yeah, what was it like? They were so much faster than
Toyota.
everyone else. Yeah,
Yeah,
just all the other cars were slow, so it wasn't really a.
it's a bit like F1. You got Mercedes. And
Yeah,
Ferraris.
I guess you could say that, but it was even more extreme than that. It was because like I don't even know why, but I just know it was ridiculous. Like he's obviously good enough to win the Triple Crown. He's one of the best drivers in history, but it just wasn't a win that was impressive for his standards.
We were talking about this earlier. I think me and you may have talked about it before. I did a blog post on it on Stroll, and
Oh yeah,
his dad obviously had paid Williams quite a lot of money for, I think it was two seasons,
yeah.
and now he's at Force India.
They're gonna have a different name next year. I don't
Yeah,
know
I'm not
what.
sure what they're going to be called. Racing Point or whatever they're going to call it.
Ugh, yuck.
But there's a lot of money in motorsport, and you know more than anybody about the money side of it. Just to compete in Formula Ford is what,
Yeah.
50 grand,
Yeah.
and that goes up considerably when you look at F4. I think it's like 250,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. £250,000 for a season driving a car.
Yeah.
And then obviously F2, F3. It's
Yeah, we're talking millions. Yeah.
and it's just it prices out not everyone basically, apart from the super rich.
Yeah.
Or if you have that much talent to get a sponsor of that much
Yeah,
money.
like Lewis Hamilton got Ron Dennis supporting him.
I don't think we'll see anything like that ever again.
Probably
in my
not.
opinion.
No, it'll be very unlikely.
Which is sad, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Because
You miss so much talent that like.
I'm pointing at Seb there.
And you.
Well, less so.
But sim racing is a good alternative. So it shows the talent, but yeah, it's just there's so much talent out there that's wasted. Like the best. Fernando Alonso said it himself. He was like, someone said, "What's it feel like to be the best driver in the world?" or something like that. And he said, "I'm not the best driver in the world. It's probably some Indian taxi driver somewhere." Like, but he just doesn't know it.
What he actually said was, don't ask me, ask Sebastian Job.
Yeah.
Indian taxi driver.
Yeah, I think he said that. He is like,
I'm not going to Google that.
but he said something like that. It was like it could be anyone, and they don't have the money to compete. Like they could be the most talented driver you'd ever see, but they won't. Like they probably won't even go karting once in their life, because that to be successful is obviously a mix of talent and work ethic. And other factors, but they're like I'd say the two main things. And you just think like obviously all the top F1 drivers have like insane talent, but there's always going to be someone with more talent. There's always someone with more talent basically because there's so many people. and it's just, but you won't know. Like, Messi's probably not even the most talented footballer in the world.
Stop you there.
Well, I would say he is.
He's not
but
even in the top 5 Ballon d'Or.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And we're here at Wembley where, when did they play Spurs? A few weeks ago. Did you see it? Spurs Barcelona. Out there,
I
Messi
saw
completely
Messi's
destroyed.
goal, yeah.
He is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyone that thinks,
I think he's the best ever.
anyone that thinks Modric deserves
ridiculous.
the Ballon d'Or. This is meant to be a
Robbed.
motorsport podcast, but I'm just going to say it. Messi is the greatest of all time.
Yes.
Then it's Cristiano.
Yes.
And then it's Pele.
Yes, I agree. I'm glad we
I
sorted that.
haven't bribed you either.
No.
I'm actually surprised by that.
Yeah. Well, most people don't. No. Well, it's a lot of mixed opinions. But yeah, like, maybe Messi's most talented in the world. But you know what I mean. Like, there could be some, like, kid out in...
East Grinstead.
Exactly. Could be some kid in East Grinstead insanely talented. But, I mean, in football, it's not so much a problem. If you're talented, you get spotted,
Oh,
basically.
yeah, 100%.
But in motorsport, like...
There's more barriers. You have to have money.
Yeah, you have
As
to
well
have
as the
money.
skill.
It's ridiculous. So there's a lot of talent that's missed. But at least in sim racing, no matter how like poor, well, as long as you can afford a computer and a steering wheel, you can do iRacing or
For a lot of people,
R
that's
Factor.
quite a lot of money for a lot of
Yeah,
for most
but
people.
but in most like, not in a third world country they can't, unfortunately. But in most Western world countries or richer countries, it's not a problem. So
How do you feel? Do you feel angry or pissed off towards the likes of Stroll and
no.
Sergei Sorokin and those kind of guys that are paying millions just to drive?
No,
in F1?
if they're arrogant, then yeah, but I don't think they're arrogant people. Like, Stroll seems like an actually really nice guy, and I've heard he's a nice guy. You don't think so?
I think Lance Stroll's a great guy.
Of course.
I mean, I think his Instagram got he took down his Instagram or something ages ago because he got so much hate
Yeah, but
on Instagram, which
it's undeserved hate. Like, it's not his
Yeah.
fault he's rich. It's his
Yeah.
dad's fault. And
Yeah.
there's not even a fault, really. It's just they did well. Like, they're successful. Why can't they enjoy their success? If that makes sense. But
which I agree with. But a lot of people are, quite. A lot of armchair fans are like, oh,
yeah,
you've just given him
exactly.
money.
But he's not a bad driver. He's got a podium. He's not a world champion or something like. Well, I don't think he might surprise. But
Starting the Stroll era in 2019.
yeah, I can't
Era
wait.
of domination.
But it's. I think he was quite good in F3 actually.
Yeah, he's come through the ranks.
But
But he wouldn't have
yeah.
been there without his money, though.
No, exactly.
He'd be
But
sat
I
here
d-
talking to me on this podcast.
Yeah, but it's like I don't like. I'm jealous of them, but I don't dislike them for that. That their dad is his dad's a successful. I don't know how he got his money actually.
I was talking about that with my
Is he a
dad,
businessman?
actually. I've no idea.
I think
Need
he's
to
like
find-
the
need to find
second
out.
richest man in Canada or something.
Who's the first?
Don't know.
How much
But-
money do they have?
Yeah.
Can
But
they sponsor you?
but yeah, it's like I don't. There's no point disliking someone, but because he is enjoying he's got into F1. Like if he was that bad, he wouldn't get into F1. But he's not.
He's
that
obviously got the
bad.
talent, though.
Yeah, he's got talent. It's just not as much as maybe Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton or the top drivers in the world. But he's still at a reasonable level, a good enough level to get into F1. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong. Well, there's something wrong with the whole industry, but it's not his fault,
No,
and there's no reason to take out on him.
even though look at Fangio, and he's considered the Godfather. I know Lewis
Yeah.
Hamilton says that a lot. He's like, oh, he's the Godfather.
Yeah.
But even he was it was back then. It was just rich guys who had, obviously a lot of money and just sort of
Yeah.
raced.
And they weren't. I'm pretty sure most of them were pretty terrible drivers back then as well.
And that's controversial.
I mean,
they couldn't just hop on project
mean-
cars, could they? iRacing.
I mean, it's like, well, you think how the way, like, if you look back at when Schumacher raced, like, he when he first started, he was like, he brought this whole new concept of like being physically fit as part of being a racing driver, and he destroyed everyone. And like, you watch onboard footage of drivers back then, and they were, some of them like near the back were really bad. They wouldn't, like, they make, no offense to Lance Stroll, but they make him look like Lewis Hamilton, you know. And I just think you go even further back in time, what are the drivers going to be like? They're literally just going to be people that have never hopped in a car or something. Well, obviously, but they've just bought like an F1 car in it. They've got no racing experience, probably. Some of the guys at the back, and it's because there was no like safety regulations. You probably didn't need a racing license or something back
They
then.
didn't even wear helmets at the start.
Really?
Just wore goggles. And
Oh,
when
yeah,
they
of course,
had to get
yeah.
their goggles, it'd be like shit
Yeah.
and grease, and
Yeah.
I might have to bleep it out actually. Do you reckon I need to bleep?
Ooh, don't know. You've
Yeah.
already said
Well, I've already
shit
said it,
twice, so yeah.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
shit.
wasn't sure, so I was watching if you were gonna swear. But
I will bleep it out. It's fine.
yeah.
I've actually had quite a few questions online, on social
Really?
media. Yeah.
I was gonna ask about that. I thought you'd get 0. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, when you're such a big celebrity like you are, I get so much attention.
Just use me for my fame.
What do you think I'm here for? Question from AL_XGW. He says, "What does the future hold?"
Lots of sim racing, and if I can afford it, real racing. But not if I can afford it. If I get sponsors, that is literally any sort of real racing for me is dependent on if we get a sponsor or sponsors.
Which is the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
In today's world.
I don't see anything like what happened with Ron Dennis and Lewis Hamilton happening. Looks good, doesn't it?
Wow. Sorry, I just turned around. I didn't realise it was dark.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I've just been watching it get darker during the
You've
podcast.
watched a time lapse.
I've got a great view of Wembley.
And I've got a couple of Instagram anonymous ones. I thought you were going to ask a question to yourself, but
No,
obviously
I
you
never
didn't.
have questions for myself.
Apparently O2's down as well, or something.
Yeah, useless O2.
Someone's asked, what's the funniest moment of your season? Which I thought was a good one.
Ooh.
I think it's when you crashed.
Yeah, that was
All the
hilarious.
crashes
I was
were-
laughing my arse
It's
off.
just Comedy Central.
Oh, there's so many funny moments like when with BM Racing because they're all hilarious guys. I couldn't think of like
Shout out to Andy, BM Racing
yeah,
owner.
he's
Absolute legend.
Yeah.
I think we should get him on the podcast. If he can get down to Wembley, I'm not even joking.
I'd love it.
Andy-
I'd listen to that.
You, that's Rory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
'cause is he? I don't know where he lives.
No, I don't think he's in London. But get both
Get yourself
both
down,
them
Rory.
full-time drivers for the season.
I'd actually be down for that. So you're not going to give an answer for that?
I can't think of like a specific. I'm never good with funny moments because I just can't think of specific ones.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there for this, but when Andy locked, I saw a video of it.
Oh, one of
At
the
Silverstone.
one of the mechanics or apprentices because they were doing it for work experience. One of them got locked in the toilet, and he was trying to get out, and he thought the lock was broken, and he just thought he was stuck. And Andy just cable tied the door shut.
And you could see his hand on the handle, like trying to like
Yeah.
pull it. It was like getting really pissed.
That was quite good, but I don't know. There was a lot of funny moments. It was a very funny season, but yeah, I couldn't pick out a single moment. My memory is never good enough for that, unfortunately.
Another anonymous question.
Anonymous.
Yeah, well, this one's not anonymous because I put his name there.
No.
A guy called Louis Shaner, I think his name is.
Oh.
Yeah, him. He says, if you could go back to tell your old self at the beginning of the season something you've learnt this year, what would it be?
Don't be a pussy. Nah.
Seriously?
No. That wasn't part of the problem when I first started driving. I think I spun like far too many times on my first test day. I spun in turn 1 at Silverstone, which is like 100 miles an hour or something.
Cops?
Yeah, cops.
Were you flat?
No. You have to brake for that. Just a tap of the
Don't be a
brake.
pussy.
But yeah, it's probably there was something Neil McLennan said to me at Northern Ireland when we were at Kirkstone racing, and I was having a chat with him during testing, and he was saying about how you just got to get used to the feeling of being sideways in the car. That like you really have to get. Once you get used to that, you're off. That's it. You're sorted for the future. And after that weekend I had my best result of the season. But if I was told, like, if I had that knowledge, like, of how insane it would be before the season, yeah, it would have made all the difference. And also, I didn't realize how much more, like, how much easier the car to drive is when you're on the limit than when you're not. Like, if you're driving around like 3 seconds off pace, the tires aren't up to temperature. The car doesn't respond quickly. Everything's very slow, sluggish, and you feel like you've disconnected from the car.
You feel like you're driving a 1994 Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, exactly. Or you feel like you're driving Project Cars. But
shots.
But no, and then when you're on the limit, it's like everything just feels perfect. You can feel everything in the car, like, and it's just so much easier once. Well, not easier, but it's so much better and more what you'd expect to be. It is easier, I guess. Yeah.
So what would you say to it's a similar question. What would you say to the winner of the scholarship this year?
Pretty much that's you. Yeah. I'll say it to your face. Yeah.
No, I can't call it out and say I'm going to win because I'm not.
You will. I'll make sure
so
James
awesome.
puts me as the judge for Silverstone when you're all driving Ginettas, and I'll choose you.
I can't tell you how ridiculous that would be. Slightly different format for this year as well. Obviously, you can't compete because you're ruled out.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
Which is, some might say, controversial, but I can see why he's done it.
Yeah, I understand it.
Otherwise, it would just be Seb winning it every year on year, just like Lewis Hamilton.
But
you got to do 3 track. Oh, well, I'm doing it. Oh, at the moment, I'm meant to be practicing, but I'm here at Wembley.
Yeah, and
yeah,
done podcasts.
I'm not sure. You said that you can still understand me, but I've had laryngitis. It's not nice. It's grim. My throat is quite sore. Didn't know whether you...
Best way to solve it, talk for an hour.
Yeah. Since when did you become a doctor? Exactly.
Just now.
So there's 3 tracks for the scholarship: Spa, Silverstone, Brands, GP.
Yeah.
Obviously Silverstone, GP.
Yeah.
You've done a few laps. You've been very helpful for me, I have to say.
I've done a few laps at Silverstone and Spa.
You've done like 2 laps and you immediately are about 2 seconds quicker than I was. That's not even a joke.
It's a bit of an exaggeration.
Well, I got on and I was... can I say the times?
Yeah, go for it. Most people have done their laps. I don't remember the times.
I mean, I was doing like... The first lap I did, I was like 2:19. That was the first ever lap I ever did in that car at Silverstone. I was like, okay. But now I can't say what time I'm going to do because it's a lot better, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's banging in the 2:10s.
Yeah, mate. I'm in the 1 minutes, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scholarship's a little bit different this year, and I wasn't really going to talk about it that much. What would your advice be to the winner?
What? Oh, okay.
Well, did you have any other advice you were going to say?
Oh, I was just thinking for like when everyone hops in the cars for that bit, but it's only 20 minutes. There's not much advice you can give for that. It's more about just who has the most confidence.
20 minutes?
I think so.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you going to come down if I make top 40?
I'd love to. I'm pretty sure I will come and watch. Yeah, I think it's all meant to be anonymous, though. Like they'll give data over and they'll just keep names hidden. Yeah, I don't.
Maybe we should explain the format. 3 tracks. You got to set a lap around each, and your fastest lap is put together. So you have 3 laps that are put together in a time. Top 40 guys go to Silverstone. Ginetta GT4.
Ginetta Junior and then GT4, I think.
Ginetta Junior for the top 40, and then the top 10 from that. So you got to be really, really good. You get GT4.
Is it not top 20?
I thought it was top 10.
I thought it was top 20.
Link in bio.
Doesn't
you can
matter.
find that for
Doesn't
yourself.
matter. You'll be first anyway.
He is joking when he says that.
I'm not.
Advice.
Confidence is everything. When you jump from a game to a car, so you just got to be confident. That's literally the main thing. I think if you win the competition, you're already fairly talented. so the driving part shouldn't be a problem. It's all mental and getting used to the feel of the car. So it's just like, I think it was Andy said it. It was like in the latest RACER episode, he was like saying how when I first jumped in the car, I came out of the pits like a granny in first gear.
It's true. I put that clip over when he said that as well. That was slow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
My nan could have come out. That
Yeah,
garage
but
quicker.
I didn't want to, like, I was worried about stalling, and I didn't want to wheel spin out the
Going
pits.
slow is not going to help.
I was trying my best. Remember, I hadn't driven a car for 6 months at this point, and it was gear stick on the other side.
That's true. That's quite a, for me. That was
Yeah.
a throw off.
And I'm having to heel toe shift for the first. Well, actually, I didn't at first. Now I do. But yeah.
You heel towing
Yeah.
in your Formula Ford.
Yeah.
This guy's a pro. Knows what he's doing.
Helps a lot in the rain. I'm not great at it, but it's enough. But yeah. It's just confidence. Like by the end of the season, I was like coming out of the pits like full speed, like just going for it. And
Like your dad said, you're a completely different person now.
yeah, exactly. It's just confidence, really. That's the main thing I think that helps when hopping in a car, hopping in a Formula Ford, especially a Formula Ford. They're big confidence cars, I think.
If by some miracle I do even make it to the top 40 and then win, what clubs are we hitting in MK or what, Northampton?
Oh, oof. The Milton Keynes ones were all right, but they weren't anything special.
Because you're obviously a guy that is just on the sesh 24/7.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that about
Every
you.
day, 4 a.m.s.
Right now he's got a Jack Daniels and Coke.
Yeah, exactly. Nah, I don't like Jack Daniels.
He gets searched every time you come into this ground, so it's impossible to bring in anything.
Yeah. What was there a question?
No, I was just taking the mic, really.
Yeah.
I've got aims and aspirations for the future and closing chat about anything, and that's it. So what's your aims and aspirations for the future?
Aim would obviously be F1 driver, but that's a bit far-fetched unless I won the lottery. So yeah, just keep racing, really. That's the aim and aspiration part. Just win money from sim racing as much as possible to try and fund racing. And if I can make sim racing a full-time job, that'd be great.
Do you reckon that's actually going to happen, though?
Well, I know some people already could do it. Like, they could give up everything and just do sim racing full-time. Like, they earn enough.
Wish I could do that.
Give it time.
Closing chat about anything.
What's anything?
What do you think of Wembley? It's your first time here.
I like it a lot. It's quite cool because I went to Munich for Oktoberfest recently, and I got to see Bayern Stadium and also the old Olympic Stadium.
The Allianz Arena?
Yeah, and I can't remember what the Olympic Stadium was called, but it's quite cool to have a comparison. But yeah, it's quite.
They should come down for a game.
I'd love to, but
Obviously
yeah,
not Spurs, because no one likes Spurs.
Yeah, disgusting.
I had a bit of beef with a Spurs fan, actually, in our seminar. He was giving
Smack
it
him.
large about Ipswich
Ooh,
being bottom of the league, obviously.
that's quite funny though.
Ipswich thought I'd die. The door's over there, mate, if you just want to...
Yeah.
I asked him what the score was in the Spurs game, and he didn't like that.
What game was that?
I asked him if he'd played at the weekend.
Oh.
I'd say that's pretty much it. Have you got anything that you want to add?
Just thanks. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
You've enjoyed the view, actually, looking out on that
I
pitch.
have.
They've got for the audio listeners, we've got the grass lights. I'm not sure what the technical name
Yeah.
is. But
Wait, for the photosynthesis, because I don't get enough light in.
it's almost like you've done science at GCSE.
It's because I've been to the... Yeah, well, yeah. But also I got reminded about this all when I went to the Bayern Stadium.
Wow.
So
Some of us
refreshed my memory.
Some of us haven't had the privilege of just going to Bayern and Barca and, you know.
Well, no, the Bayern one was, out of my own pocket. That was a lads trip for Oktoberfest.
Sure. Yeah, well, thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
cheers.
Thanks for coming to Wembley. It's not a short trip for either of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
We'll have to get you back down. If we can get Andy and Rory down on the podcast,
great.
that'd be great. But yeah, thanks very much for listening. This has been a podcast which I haven't got a name for. Have you got a name?
The George Show.
The George Show. Worst
No.
name ever.
I don't.
Do you know what?
that'll
I'm just going to
stick.
call it The George Show featuring Sebastian Job.
Wow.
I was going to call it Sofa to Silverstone and then have like your name or something.
That's decent.
But then I have actually.
But that's not. You can't use that for every episode.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I don't know whether I'll do any more episodes.
Unless you win.
I'm struggling for guests. If I win, we can have you on as like a regular appearance.
Yeah.
If you're down.
Yeah.
I was hoping if I do get to top 40 to get Kieran to come along and actually make something.
That'd be good. Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, if I win, that'd be great. But anyway, thanks very much for listening. This has been way too long, an hour and 11 minutes apparently.
Yeah, they always go on.
If you enjoyed Seb's velvety tones, please leave a like, comment if there's anything that you think was controversial, and obviously make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss out. Thank you very much for listening. Peace.
Peace. Velvety tones.